Beyond the shadows, the cursed mansion. Ethan was a young lawyer who'd spent most of his life in the city, focusing on his career. Feeling overwhelmed by the hectic pace of his life, he thought he could find peace in an old mansion located in a small town. After a brief search on the internet, he was captivated by this historic building, which was being sold at a low price. A sense of discovery surged within him, and he decided to visit the mansion in person. The town was hidden away in the forest, far from prying eyes. When Ethan took the old key in his hand and turned the lock, a cold draft hit his face as soon as he stepped inside. The interior of the house was covered in dust, untouched for years. Right next to the entrance, which opened into a large living room, there was a marble fireplace with an old mirror hanging above it. For a moment, as he passed by the mirror, Ethan thought he saw a shadow reflected in it. However, he reassured himself that it was just a hallucination caused by his tired mind. His first night was relatively peaceful. However, he was awakened in the early morning by strange noises. The sounds coming from the old wooden floors were so clear that it seemed as though someone was walking around the house. Deciding to investigate the source of the noise, he grabbed his flashlight and quietly left his room. The sound was coming from the lower floor. As he descended the stairs, each step creaked louder. When he reached the bottom, he saw a large bookshelf. The noises were coming from behind it. As he approached, he noticed that part of the bookshelf was slightly ajar. A hidden room. This discovery was a huge surprise for him. When he found the hidden passage behind the bookshelf, his hair stood on end. At the end of the passage was a dark room. As he stepped inside, he saw old, faded pictures hanging on the walls. These pictures depicted a family portrait and a large mansion beside them. Ethan realized that this mansion was the very place he was in. The faces of the family members were filled with fear. Just below the picture, it read, 1905. The year we were cursed. Ethan had learned about the history of this mansion during his research. In 1905, it was known that the family living in this house mysteriously disappeared. The locals believe the mansion was cursed, which was why no one had approached it for years. Ethan thought these were just myths when he bought the house. However, this discovery showed that everything was much more complicated. After leaving the hidden room, the strange occurrences increased. At night, footsteps echoed through the house. Doors slammed shut suddenly, and he felt cold drafts out of nowhere, making it impossible for him to sleep. One night, unable to bear it any longer, he decided to talk to a local about the situation. One of the town's elders, Mr. Williams, listened to him with great seriousness and then said, "This house is cursed, my boy. The spirits of that family have not found peace. You need to help them find it." Moved by Mr. Williams' words, Ethan began to gather more information about the family from old records. During this process, he learned that the family had hidden a treasure in the mansion and was cursed during a ritual to find it. The family believed that the treasure brought greed and that this was the reason for their curse. Ethan decided to lift the curse and bring peace to the spirits by following the instructions in the family's old diary on how to perform the ritual. Finally, the night of the ritual arrived. In the dark and gloomy atmosphere of the mansion, Ethan used old items and candles to perform the ritual. When the ritual was completed, the strange events in the house ceased. At that moment, Ethan felt a great sense of relief. The faces in the family portrait no longer looked fearful, but peaceful. From that moment on, the mansion became a quiet and calm place. Ethan had lifted the curse and found a peaceful sanctuary for himself. Ethan never forgot this experience for the rest of his life. He had faced his own fears, delved into the depths of history, and finally found peace. The mansion was no longer cursed, but a home filled with tranquility.